been able to hit that target. It is a consistent story with all kind of big leaders, small leaders, mid-sized leaders, military dictators, civilian dispensation. This is a constant story. And this is the challenge of governance. Instead of hysterical criticism of different things, if we start having these sort of rational conversations, we would exactly know where we are failing and why we are failing. Whether it is the health services or the educational services, if you want to ensure and spread it out as a nation, as a country, the first and foremost thing is that you develop your taxation system properly. All of us want to live in a Scandinavian ideal world, like the lifestyle in Norway and Denmark and the rest. Their contribution, tax contribution to their GDP is 91%. Ours is 9%. So I want to have a Denmark for contributing 9% as compared to 91%. It can remain in my wish list, but I can't have that. It's painful. It's painful. It's slow. Both. So what do you do? As a caretaker, I can proudly say that after many years, we are the one in last quarter, we have achieved our tax target. This is amazing. If we could do it in 3 months, why the rest of the governments can't do? It is for the people like yourself, they need to answer and raise these questions. We did it. It's documented, it's published yesterday that in last quarter, we were able to achieve the tax target in the FBR. So if it can be done in 3 months, it means that it is practical, it's possible, and if it is not happening, there is something very seriously wrong with our governance structure. This is my opinion on it.
Two is both the people and the government.
Yeah, of course, government is part of the people. I mean, if I am electing a government, so I'm contributing towards that either resolution or the problem. So I am part of the problem. And when you become in the government, and I have landed that support to you, so it means the two of us have brought it to the tango.
Mr. Prime Minister, why do we always go into frenzy and last-minute coping mechanisms, shut down the schools and do this and that? Why can't we be like Beijing and control this issue? I mean, crop burning is one of the prescriptions, but then there is no law enforcement. You go on the motorway and people are doing it without any fear of repercussions or them being caught. So what do you have to say about that?
I completely agree with you. I mean, the enforcement is one of the challenges, as you have identified yourself in your question. The poor enforcement is part of the problem of the governance in this country. There are laws, they exist, but if he goes and tries to implement and apprehend that man, you would start agitating that his rights are being violated. And there is a group of rights emerge in this country wherever the law enforcement goes for the enforcement. There are occasions on which the law enforcement also are compliant for multiple reasons. Financial mismanagement, few others, political influence, they are there. But on the other hand, society also has a tendency to stop enforcement. So we are living in this milieu. Poor development and capacity building of the law enforcement agencies. Lack of ethos. I mean, if you go and observe your bureaucracy who has to implement, you will be surprised the kind of a value system probably they personally hold. That is appalling, that is shocking, that is disappointing to say the least. We have a structure of a bureaucracy which does not have a sense of identity. That what was the Ottoman Empire? The Janissaries were the most committed group which ensured the structure of the empire. And those Ottomans were able to expand their good or bad agenda till up till Eastern Europe, primarily because of the Janissaries. If you go and see the structure of any nation state, empire, or anywhere in the documented history, there is a structure of the bureau who takes and furthers and forwards the agenda which is linked to that identity. In our case, it's missing. It is unfortunately missing. You don't know who they are enforcing the laws for, or they themselves are pretty much confused. So there is a structural issue at the level of the enforcement, which needs some radical changes, in my opinion. Whether somebody does that or doesn't, you need a civil structure reforms. Until and unless you don't do that, from the burning of the crop up till allowing a vehicle on the motorway which is not fit environmentally, are both part of the challenge. So we need to address that as soon as possible. I don't know whether this policemen agree with it, but this is my opinion.
But then you mentioned radical change. Who will bring it, and how? Like, what is the prescription? Will we keep dying? Our lungs are practically collapsing. So what is the prescription?
Radical changes are required. This is all I can say. By whom? Let's find the noun. Let's find the person or persons in the time. They are placed somewhere in the future. If somebody can peek in the future, they will know it.
But I am still pessimistic. I haven't found the answer, Mr. Prime Minister. Give us a noun.
Well, this is my art to evade answers, you know. It's not the art to give all the answers.
Well, Mr. Prime Minister, now coming to some serious questions. You recently banned all these celebrations on New Year's Eve in solidarity with the Palestinians. While it was well intended, Mr. Prime Minister, it raised two questions. A, about law enforcement, and B, about the global image of Pakistan. I mean, for the first one, celebrations still took place in the absence of law. For the global image, I mean, Pakistan, the only Muslim nuclear powered country, has now gone to a status that when generations are being literally wiped out, this is what we are doing, banning fireworks. What do you have to say about that?
First of all, there was a lot of criticism also, and there was a lot of appreciation behind this decision. So there is a mix of both. There is a section of society which wanted to celebrate the New Year, and down the line, after 100 years, they wanted to be documented as someone on that particular second, 12 o'clock, 1 second, dancing and having festivity and so on and so forth. So they're very, very critical of this decision, and I don't mind of the criticism. Our intention first was to highlight that in the global community, particularly on the Western Hemisphere, that there is a nation of 240 million people who officially has distanced itself from the festivity because of the kind of the genocide which is being committed by this apartheid state of Israel, which is brutal, which has applied a disproportionate force, whose existence is also at question, but they are expressing this brutal, are displaying the force of this brutality in a very, with impunity. So what are our options? One, do we go to the war? Yes. I'm an interim prime minister. Do you expect me to take the 240 million people to the war? Probably a nuclear war. So you are very quite serious people and raising a very serious question to me. Think about it. Have a grand assembly. Mull over it. I can't alone take such a big decision. It's huge. It's big. Should we go to war? I mean, in my personal opinion, I am a very aggressive and a jingoistic person. Maybe I would say yes, but don't listen to me. War has implications. war is not a joke. What we have done, we have exploited the forum of OIC, we have exploited other international forums, we have been engaging with Western diplomats, particularly the US diplomats, Brits, Europeans, and clearly enunciating them, telling them that if such behavior continues, it would be responsible for radicalizing the entire 1.4 billion Muslim population throughout the globe, within West and over here, Middle East, North Africa, anywhere. So we are trying, the immediate objective is that somehow or other we stop this senseless war and create a humanitarian corridor. This is the kind of a message which the military leadership recently took the United States. And we were quite clear in our...
Mr. Prime Minister, coming to the question of Balochistan, firstly, who could have thought the state would be taken over by two Balochistanis?
No, we have not taken over the state, for God's sake. Yeah, okay, carry on.
So, Mr. Prime Minister, the recent happenings in Islamabad has elicited... I'm speechless. They're my own people. I'm sure you share the same feelings. But the problem is you did condemn and you did call on a meeting and you did form a committee. What do you have to say about the kind of treatment meted out to the protesters, which had large number of women and children? And that brings me to the question as to who will rejuvenate the relationship of Balochistan with the center. I don't see any reconciliation attempts working anytime soon.
Thank you. How many of you are interested to listen to this question's answer? Quite impressive, okay. First of all, whenever there are protesters, the protests and the agitation has to be within the limits of law. Do we all agree on this? That you have got the right to protest, no, you don't agree? Okay, good. But when you agitate, every government has certain laws, even in democracies, in dictatorship, they have got their own rules and laws, but it has to be demonstrated by the law. And if those laws are violated, then the role of the enforcement comes, that they try to enforce those laws. So this is the general understanding and a civic sense in which a political environment operates in any country. So is the case in Pakistan. This water cannon, which is more criticized, or slightly probably more than that, there was a lathi charge also. More than 200 instances I can quote from the European Union where they have used these water cannons to curb, control agitation within those countries. So these are the so-called international best practices. First of all, God forbid, there was not the case that we have shot at children or women, or we have gone to extreme positions. They were the basic tactics of law enforcement, water cannon and others. Because they were stone pelting, which was reported to me, so that stone pelting had to be stopped by someone. By whom? The role of the law enforcement was there to stop them. And after that, they made few arrests, which again is according to the law, their inherent and basic right. And when they were taken to the custody, to different police stations, they were released probably within 48 or 72 hours. Some 30 to 34, which were facing the identity parade, they were the prime suspects for the stone pelting. When they went through that, eventually they have been also released. And still all those women, as we speak here in this hall, they are agitating in front of Islamabad Press Club. That basic right of agitation has been recognized and accepted by the state. What are we doing to them? Why are we being portrayed as followers of pharaohs who have just asked them, don't do the stone pelting? What have we done? I would be interested and I would stand more educated if somebody could tell me that no, you have done the, ordered the shooting or any other extreme measures have been taken by the government. We can talk about the Balochistan situation, reconciliation, relation with the center in a very separate mode. I am willing to respond to that. But as far as this specific incident is concerned, don't you know that they are still agitating? The famous lady who's leading that agitation procession, she's there along